so fertig.
Het is een uitslapen.
Today we have been watching the exhibition of great tennis champion Martina Navratilova. Many boys and girls from all over the world are dreaming about such an excellent career. But the way to the top is not easy. It's hard and complicated. Coming out of the Czech tennis with our best colleagues from all over the world, we have been searching for the best ways. And we would like to present you some of our ideas.
He actually started hitting the ball when he was like 3 or 4 years old, but nothing serious, just, you know, fun over the net and hitting towards, you know, animal targets and things like that. And my little girls, I've got an 8-year-old girl, and she's hitting against the garage door a little bit, and she seems to enjoy it, and the 11-year-old plays a little bit. So I think the key thing, in my point of view, is to give them exposure to tennis, as well as, you know, swimming and piano and baseball and basketball and all those different sports, and they can choose as they get older here, you know, what they want to concentrate on.
That's our #1 mission right now, is getting more people out on the courts. And in that regard, we've gotten behind a program called Little Tennis. And Little Tennis is a program geared at getting 4-year-olds to even 3-year-olds to 7-year-olds out on tennis courts.
We would like to give them some coordination and just to make it fun for them to have first contact with tennis.
That's absolutely right. The main goal is to get them on a tennis court having fun. They're not going to be hitting balls back and forth. They may be running around with a butterfly net, catching balls that are thrown to them, but they're developing their eye-hand coordination. They might just be running relay races on a tennis court, but when you look at children when they're introduced to soccer or baseball, they're not playing soccer the way adults do. They're just running around on a soccer field having fun. And that's what we're trying to do on a tennis court.
With tennis, you have parents involved there as well.
Very, very much. Very important part of the program is to get parents involved with their children, because if the parents and the children are both involved, they're going to stick with the game.
What are you doing? Yeah, hit the ball machine. But you don't want to ever hit the cabeza dura. Get yourself a gift over there. So go get the gift. Thank you. You must have a good brain at the same time as being a good player, you know?
Most important thing is a base, a good physical base. Kids must be kids, you know. They must learn all the kinesthetic moves. They must learn all the balance moves. They must all the recognition moves, all the natural moves of tennis. They must learn at a very early age. The skills you have to tumble, to roll on the ground, to jump up, to change direction, to recognize things, to be athletic. How to run, how to stop. Those things kids must learn very naturally with lots of games and things. And once they've learned that, then you introduce them to the ball and to tennis, or you can combine it with the ball and tennis. And when you introduce them to tennis, the essential is they must have a love for the game. See, if we don't give a love for the game for the kid, he will not survive in the game. It must be something that he really enjoys doing. That's essential. And then to realize it's a long-term process.
If we say talent, what does it mean, talent for tennis?
Well, we have been discussing, you know, Martin, this item for many years, and I still think that a person needs special qualities to learn the whole technique, to learn effective strokes. That means great coordination, relaxed muscles, not very high muscle tension. Of course, be reasonably strong. Mental resistance, I would say, on the first place. What else? Fighting spirit.
Training in the beginning should create an interest in the sport of tennis. It also determines the level of talent a player has. We don't necessarily look for a strong forehand drive right away. Instead, we look mainly for coordination, the ability to move naturally, competitiveness, and the ability to learn.
Come on!
Don't you think? No, we enjoyed it from watching. The crowd loved it. And the two kids who are out there playing will never forget that.
Absolutely.
You know, and that might give them the shot necessary to go on and work at their game a little more, have the fun, improve their game, and become a great player. You don't know that.
Ja? Zeit? Und die Schulter zum Kopf. Noch einen Ball? And tell me, what does it mean tennis to you? Why do you play tennis? What does it mean to you?
It's because I like it.
She has a lot of fun. As long as she has fun, then I enjoy it.
And she plays every day?
She plays every day. We moved here from Washington State about 2 years ago.
Why?
Well, mostly for her tennis.
And what would you like for her to achieve in tennis?
Well, I'd like for her to at least, play in college. High school, college, and if she does more than that, then fine.
If not?
Then it will be okay too.
If you would have 8-year-old kid and you would like to have great tennis champion, what would you do?
Less tennis, a lot of different ball sports, a lot of coordination exercises. If he's playing tennis only a few hours per week, to maybe 1 hour per day and five days per week, not more. And later on, if they are going to be 10, 11, something like that, so they can play a little bit more. But coordination and a couple of sports together with tennis is, in my opinion, big importance.
Andy, how long do you play tennis already?
About 5 years.
And what would you like to achieve in tennis?
Achieve? Just be the best player I can work to be, so.
And who is example for you would like to be, like Andy Agassi or Pete Sampras?
Probably Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi, both of them.
And you would like for Andy to be professional tennis player?
The more we learn about the professional tennis player, we realize that has to come from the kid. I mean, that's a rough life out there, and my husband and I both realize that because we followed a lot of players and we've gone to a lot of professional tournaments. And unless the child is really made out to be a professional tennis player, it's not the wishes of the parents that will put them there. It has to come from the child.
Backing down the line, Andy. If you can own this shot.
And what would you like to win? Would you like to win Wimbledon or US Open?
I'm not thinking that far ahead yet. I would love to win either of those, but I'm not thinking that far ahead yet.
9, 10, work! Nice effort.
I got it.
What do you think? How did tennis change in the past 20 years?
It's changed a lot. I think athletic ability has a lot to do with the game. I know there's better equipment, and everybody says more power, but I think there's more athletes in the game of tennis. Size is also a factor, but the one thing that I've realized is the most important thing is it hasn't changed. It's the size, what's in here. That hasn't changed, but the game's quicker and faster and just better athletes.
Children, right from the start, need good quality training from experienced coaches. We're not yet interested in preparing them for top-level competition. At this stage, our objective is to develop effective and sound strokes. A good stroke isn't just how you swing your arm, but how you move your whole body. Whoever understands this and learns this has a good chance to succeed. With patience and quality instruction, you can teach someone a lot. But by overtraining, you can burn someone out too fast, and that works against you. Every sport has its own specifics. In tennis, you need dynamic strength, explosive movement, quick starts and sprints in different directions, and good orientation on the court. This must be trained in the same time frame as it would be during a match. Training also includes taking good care of the body. Without liquids and proper rests, you couldn't rely on lasting the whole game. Muscle tissue is stressed during physical activity, and an imbalance occurs because of the one-sided orientation of tennis. As a result, recuperation is a vital part of a training program. Tennis is a competitive game and would be pointless without enough competition. Children like to compete, and developing this quality is very important. As soon as the basic skills have been mastered, then the young player should begin to compete in tournaments in his or her own age category. Without enough competitive play, the young player has little chance for success.
At which age you would say now you have concentrated just for tennis only?
I think when he turns about 12 years old. I think up until about 12 he needs to play a lot of sports. Then about 12 it's too difficult to be specialized in 2 or 3 sports. You have to make a decision, as I did. I used to play basketball and tennis. At 12 I chose tennis and to specialize. And you know, these days I think it's important to play these other sports because the most important thing for juniors, I think, is footwork these days. The best players in the world are the ones who move the best, the quickest. You know, Agassi and Sampras.
Well, what I think has happened is that a lot of the kids are learning the game as a business from age 6. You know, when we learned, or when I learned to play tennis, and all the guys on this tour, when we learned to play tennis, there wasn't prize money. It was a game that was just like Little League Baseball or soccer or any of the sports. We were learning to have fun. It was going to be a sport for our lifetime, and so we were having fun. Maybe you get a scholarship in college. You know, that was the biggest thing you might get out of it. And then all of a sudden, it was an opportunity where guys were going to pay you to play it. So we thought, man, isn't this great? So we were enjoying that. Then we retire, and then all of a sudden they bring back this Champions Tour, and we're getting paid to do it again. I mean, we ought to be smiling. And so it's just it's a fun thing for us. And I think a lot of the kids, though, today burn out of it because they learn tennis. Tennis is only a job. And that's pretty hard, you know, particularly if the kids are supporting the entire family. It's kind of reversed when a 14-year-old is supporting their parents.
The initial steps are now behind us. Further success can only be accomplished by systematic training. The 3 general possibilities are training in the program of the National Tennis Federation, another is training from a tennis academy, and the third possibility is to train privately, such as often happens in tennis families.
Somebody take care about the kids. I think one of the big reason, you know, and also you have to work very serious every day. And also you need to find the real sponsor, because to have kids, you really need a lot of money, you know, because it's like to put the money on the bank, you know, and it's not so easy because there are so many players that want to arrive someday #1 in the world. But I think the first thing you have to do is people that understand about tennis, and you need really professional people that work with the kids. And also luck.
To develop a champion, that can be the job. It cannot be the job of the individual. That must eventually be the job of an association, because it's a cruel thing. It really is cruel, because if you take 1,000 kids with high potential, in the end, only one can be a champion. And the associations, they can be cruel. They can say, look, we have 1,000 kids. We're now going to take the best 500, and the other 500 of you are out. And then they work with these 500, and they say, now we are going to leave 200. The rest of you are out. Now we have 10. We keep these 10, 990 of you are out. And out of these 10, we're going to make our Czech Davis Cup team. That's very cruel, but that is the way you make a champion.
Hi, this is Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, and I'm Angel, his daughter, and I hope you enjoy what the Academy has to offer for you, and we'd love to have you come and visit us.
Toulouse.
I've been in tennis since 1957, about 30 years too much.
Your academy was producing in recent years plenty of great tennis players. Why is that?
Well, what we try to do is to produce players that are the best that they can become, and when you get a lot of good players together and have a facility like this, from that become good players and hopefully great players, and we've been very fortunate to have our string of players that include, Brian Gottfried from the beginning, and then Jimmy Arias and Carling Bassett and Aaron Krickstein, and then on up into the next group, Rafael Reggie and David Wheaton, Curry, Selish, Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras, and so forth and so on. But we also have about 700 or 800 young boys and girls that have gone on to college getting full scholarships, and many of the players that attended the academy are now our coaches.
Is that clear to everybody? Let me hear you. Yeah. All right. First things, I got a couple of subjects I want to talk about. The first one is opportunity. Opportunity. My son Mike just got back from several weeks in Europe with Boris, and in Tokyo with Boris. He comes back and he tells me the conditions that junior tennis is played under outside of the United States is absolutely deplorable in most instances. They play on hard courts with wire nets, old beat-up tennis balls, rackets that are from the 1950s, and kids are just dying for the opportunity to have what you have here every single day, 24 hours a day. You have the finest training facility in the world. You have the finest coaching staff in the world. You have today at your disposal the most visible man in the athletic scene, bigger than Joe Montana, bigger than Pele, bigger than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Nick Bollettieri's name today in the sports world is second to none.
Well, the regime of the day is, basically starting off with school in the morning, getting up at around 6 or 6:30, and for the month of September, when the kids came back to the academy, they were up every morning at 5:30 and running at 6 o'clock to 6:45, breakfast on to school, back at around 12:30 or 1 o'clock, lunch, on the courts, physical fitness, the mental part of the program, up until 5:30, extra help for boys and girls that need it, dinner time, study time, and on the weekend, we have all sorts of activities.
You must know that tennis academies don't produce players. You should speak with Bollettieri and speak with IMG and find out how they do it. It's a very simple process. So they go to a young player and say, look, you're at 9 years old, 10 years old. If you have a lot of talent, we will gamble that you may become a great player. You come and train here, work on your forehands, backhands, and everything else with other young players who have great talent. And if you make it, we'll take some money from you. If you don't make it, it's okay. So that's how it's done. Remember, if there are 200 kids at an academy today, at Bollettieri's academy today, 4 or 5 will make it. The other 195 are failures.
Tennis academies have many advantages, and they are today a very popular method of training. In terms of choice and talent development, however, national tennis federations have the advantage of having a wide impact. The United States Tennis Association has its national training center in southern Florida. Its offices are located right in the stadium in Key Biscayne.
Within the player development program, we're also trying to help players be the best player they can possibly be. So we're trying to encourage young people to commit to excellence and really work on developing their physical skills, their emotional skills, their mental skills, and their technique and racket work so that they can become as fine a player as they possibly can. And then our final goal is when we have players that are really superb as athletes and have great talent, we want to be sure that they have the chance to be a successful professional player on the world stage and do well in Grand Slams, and that we'll have strong Davis Cup and Federation Cup teams, and that we'll do well in the Olympics.
Caro, you are one of the best female coaches I ever met in my life. Why do you work for the USTA and not for some tennis academy or private?
Thank you, Martin. Well, one of the reasons why I didn't want to stay in a private academy is because I already was teaching a teaching pro at the National Tennis Center in New York City. And then when this job came up and the opportunity came up to work with top juniors in the world, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to give a little bit back in tennis and be able to travel with these top players and give them some of the insight when I used to be a professional.
Sports science has become critical in the USTA. Since 1988, we started testing our athletes, our young athletes, and mainly for the purposes of injury prevention and enhancement of performance, and to see how we can lengthen the players' careers as well.
And is sports science important for everybody in tennis?
I think so. A number of years ago, people just played tennis to get fit, and now people are realizing that they need to do some other things to get fit before they even start playing tennis, so that they can play as long as possible and healthy.
And better. Maybe.
And better, obviously.
And if you could compare the performances of the top athletes 25 years ago and today, do you think these athletes, which are prepared, very sophisticated, are higher in performance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the players are performing better at a much higher level than they used to. I think people like Ivan Lendl and Martina Navratilova have been great examples in showing that you cannot just be a tennis player anymore, but you have to also be an athlete nowadays.
I'm the administrator of training centers. This is our map, which shows all of the area training centers that we have around the United States. The 20 best players within the geographical region served by the centers come together and train on a very regular basis with coaches that are trained by the USTA. And we can track the players' development, we can monitor their physical development as well as their mental development, and keep them involved in our programs for as long as possible.
Hit it right there, so right on my racket.
Whichever method is chosen for training, the goal remains the same: to be the best player you can be. The American training system also offers many advantages towards becoming a world-class player. Juniors and young players who show promise are eligible for scholarships to colleges, where they can represent the college or university on the collegiate level and still have a chance to enter the pro tour.
What is the best thing on your father, Ramsey?
Well, never pushes you. Just kind of do what you want, and he's very easy to work with, unlike most father-son tennis coaches.
Is it automatic for you that your sons are going to be great tennis champions as well?
No, it's really up to them. It depends upon how they want to, what interest they have in the game. If they really want to play, then I'll try to support them in what they're doing. But if they don't want to play, it's fine with me too.
Your older son is 16, and most of the kids in this age are already on the tour. He's a very good player, but he's not on the tour yet. Why?
Well, we feel that it's best to have a good normal education and go through high school and go to college. And we found the last few years, particularly even with our best players like Humphreys, who won Wimbledon, and John Roddick and Paul Goldstein, who are our top 3 players in the country, are going to college, at least for a year, maybe 2 years. And if they really do well, then they can always turn pro. If they don't do well, they can get the benefit of a college education. So
Well, I don't know if there's any really right approach or wrong approach. I just think a lot of it depends on the individual. You know, you got to get a disciplined person. You got to get a talented person. And you know what I try to do is I just try to get a lot of people around me that are talented coaches. And I don't think it really comes down to one person. I don't think it comes down to just me. I don't think it comes down to just a Nick Bollettieri. I don't think it comes down to one person. I really think it comes down to a concept and a whole team of coaches.
You know, times have changed. Kids, you really have to stay more in tune with the kids now than you did when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was just discipline and hard work. And you kind of have to get involved in their lives a little bit more now because children they don't listen as they used to. And I feel that you really have to be much more open in your academy than you can just saying, okay, you have to do this, this, this.
And do you believe in sports science?
Yeah, I think sports science and sports rehabilitation, you know, I mean, when I was playing, I just turned pro. I don't think my body really was strong enough to handle top tennis. And I just think over the years, the wear and tear of my body, I got injured. I had a lot of injuries through my career. I missed a lot of months. I mean, I must have been hurt, you know, over my 10-year career, I must have been hurt a year and a half of my 10-year career, which is a lot of time for an athlete. You know, it's a short life.
Would you like to be a great tennis player like Steffi Graf, or
Yes.
what's your goal?
I like to be #1 in the world.
And you work hard for that?
Yes, very hard.
And who is the best example for you? Who would you like to copy?
I like to copy Steffi Graf.
Maybe 1% of our players, like Christina, that you know, will become a professional. 99% of the players will go to college, and we hope to get them a full or partial scholarship.
Tommy, you are coming from Germany, from the country which is very good player development program. Why don't you train in Germany? Why do you train here?
Because we have a lot of good facilities here. We have the best players from Europe and all from all over the world. They come here to the MBTA. I have Nick Bollettieri as my coach, and he's one of the best in the world. And I think it's, for me, I have good chances to be a professional.
And it's better chance than with German Tennis Federation here?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of things for me. I can always play outside in the nice weather here. Always train well with a lot of people. The school goes after tennis. In Germany, the school is very tough also, so school is here good for me. Everything is fine. The workouts, I have everything right here in this academy to work on. And
who brought you here? Who pays for you?
I have a scholarship here.
Kinetic.
Tommy, if you could choose, would you just play tennis only, or would you go to school by yourself as well?
Yeah, you know, I play tennis a lot, and my goal is to be a tennis professional player, but also school is very important for me, so I go like 2 or 3 hours to school after tennis. I play tennis in the morning, and then I go to school for 2 or 3 hours, and then, you know, if I need help from a teacher, I get help, and I try to finish my school.
And some people say the tennis champions are born. Some people say the tennis champions are made. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think it's a combination. For most part, though, God is sometimes quite generous to a young boy or girl who are born with great hands and eyes and feet. That helps in making a great player. Agassi, quote, Connors and McEnroe and Boris Becker have the best hands in the game. He has the best return in the game. I didn't teach that to him. My 12 years, I helped Andre, but God gave him those gifts. So if you start out with that, helps you. Now, if you take Monica Seles, God was rather unselfish with Monica Seles. She was not a great athlete, but she had great discipline.
The most successful young players then compete for positions in professional tennis. After winning many matches, does a player become ranked in professional ranking. The best players participate in tournaments and compete for millions of dollars in prize money. It takes many years to become a top player, and for some, it never comes. Men's ranking and tournament organization is administered by the ATP headquarters in Ponte Vedra, Florida.
The Challenger, if you look at the Challenger level events, it's more or less the second tier of a player's climb up to the top level. The $1 million events that you may read about on the ATP Tour. We start at the satellite level, the entry-level events for the players, and then we go to the Challenger level, which is $25,000 in prize money, up to $125,000, and then you get to the top-tier events.
And how could you compare the players which are playing here at this Challenger with the players which are, let's say, in top 20?
Well, they're obviously not the same players that are in the top 20, but these are the players that will be in the top 20 in the next couple of years. The players that you're reading about now, whether it's Edberg, Chang, Agassi, all started at the Challenger level. You don't necessarily read about them when they're at that level, but you know them when they get to the tour level, but they do spend time in the Challengers.
And what do these guys need to get to the top 20?
Well, a lot of it is experience. A lot of them are coming out of college, have played the Pro Tour for a very short time, and have made the jump to the Challenger level. So experience is a big part. Learning how they play, learning what their game is all about. I think that's a major thing that people don't think about is you have a style of play. You want to try to use your strengths and stay away from your weaknesses.
Chris, you just did qualify for the main draw of the Challenge tournament in the ATP headquarters. How important is this for you?
Well, hopefully it'll be a big stepping stone. You know, I've lost last week at a tournament, and I've played, 6 or 7 of these things, and I hadn't qualified yet, so hopefully this will be a good stepping stone for me.
Is this tournament the biggest result for you until yet in your professional career?
Yeah, it is. In my professional career, it is so far. Just the 3 results, just to qualify here.
What you would like to achieve?
Well, I guess by the end of next year, I'd like to be in the main draw of the U.S. Open.
If you want to be a champion or want to be a great player, you have to spend a lot of time on the court or even do a lot of hard work outside the court. You just have to focus on one thing, and that's the thing you're doing. But it's hard work and a lot of sacrifice.
Have you had some girlfriend, or you have no time for girlfriends?
No, I don't have one anymore. I did, but not anymore.
It was a problem, girlfriend and tennis?
Yeah, a little bit. That was the problem. I wasn't home much, and she was finishing college, so that's the way it goes. It was tough.
What is, in your opinion, the most important thing for you to improve?
I don't know. Right now, I'd like to improve my head. The mental game. I can improve my strokes, but I'd like to become have a little more mental stability.
To play the game, approximately 15% of the total time you spend on the tennis court is the playing time. And 85 to 90% of this time on the tennis court is just the time you spend with the breaks. You don't hit the ball in this time. And how you behave yourself, such a performance are you going to have in the points, during the points.
I really also want to
All professional players are technically and physically outstanding, but other factors soon enter the game. Psychological pressure becomes increasingly tough as a player gets better, and in today's stiff competition, only a mentally strong player can succeed. Sports psychologist Dr. James Lur has analyzed successful players on the court and categorized their behavioral patterns under stressful circumstances. His findings have helped other players better understand their game.
I never worked with Jimmy as a sports psychologist, but I studied Jimmy for a couple of years. I was the director of tennis at Sanibel Harbor, the United States Jimmy Connors Tennis Center in Florida. And I was there specifically to try to understand how Jimmy operates, how he had come to develop his competitive skills in such a miraculous way. Jimmy taught me a tremendous amount about the whole issue of competitiveness. And it was a very, very important time in my career to have had that opportunity.
What do you think about mental toughness in tennis?
I think it's really important. I mean, that match at the US Open, it just showed you how, I mean, mentally tough you have to be, because I think when it comes down to a third set tiebreaker, it's not, you know, both players are tired, but it's just, it's going to depend on who's mentally more alert and more tough than the other player.
Mental toughness simply means the ability to perform on demand, under pressure, regardless of circumstance, to perform to the upper limits of your talent and skill. Players are getting tougher in every way. They're getting tougher physically, mentally, and emotionally, because the competitive field is so much stronger. The more experience they have, the more of the tour that demands these unbelievable schedules and so forth. What's happening is everyone is getting stronger, and everyone's, you know, getting a little bit more ability in these very special areas. And so we feel like players need to be toughened. They need to be strong to handle the tour today, because the players out there are so good, much better than ever in the history of the game.
On the basis of his analysis, Dr. Lur has defined an optimal behavioral structure for the player during a match. Each player needs to assimilate this structure into his or her own training in order to react positively to various situations during a match and to maintain the ideal performance state. Every move on the court between points, breathing, relaxation, and even little rituals before the serve can be learned. Even pros need to work on their technique. Primarily, they concern themselves with minor adjustments to streamline their skills and with adapting to the evolution of the sport. This, however, requires a very experienced coach.
Our world-class players, with very small changes, can raise the level of the game. If you look at her backhand, for instance, this is what she looks like when she plays a backhand drive. And I'll just stay there. You can see she has given up a huge amount of court position. So now she says, look, but when I'm there, the players hit sharp cross court. So she then makes an adaptation. She changes what she does, and I say, look, instead of falling over, why not do another way? Instead of falling over, instead of adding one extra step, why not stay in the same position? When you get there, stay in the same position in an economical recovery.
I can maybe give him a tip to get into top 20, but I'm still looking for that magic tip to get to number 1.
And to go to top 20, what it would be?
Top 20, I think, you know, I think the main thing you have to enjoy playing tennis, and because it's a lot of hard work, and if you don't really enjoy it, it takes too much commitment.
In the last 2 decades, tennis has grown enormously. Due in part to the successful commercialization of the major tournaments, tennis has become a popular worldwide sport. The tennis federations and coaches organizations also organize symposiums for coaches and trainers to exchange experience and information. The result of these symposia is not only that coaches can better prepare their players for improved performance, but to also develop the sport of tennis the world over.
Today is going to be just developing the foundations of a world-class junior. Now, I've chosen to discuss some certain fundamentals which I think are critical to developing players into world-class players, top-flight juniors.
If you stay too far from the net on the first serve, like you were doing at the beginning, if the return comes on you, you won't be able to be so aggressive. Okay, and then you will put the ball there. But if you had forward momentum and you touch the ball, you can really put it away. So you have on the first serve to be able to create the forward momentum.
And what we realize by talking more and more with countries, and what we are missing is a competitive philosophy, a competitive structure. Like I talked lately with the head coach of Czechoslovakia, and he told me first there was 1,000 clubs doing junior development. We have 40 in Canada. And they were having more than 1,000 tournaments, like inter-club, inter-city, in their country, and we have maybe 50. And I think the best way to develop a player is by him playing competitive, so you have a competitive athlete who produces strokes, but for a purpose.
Smash first one, and then volley down the line. You go. You go over this side, down the line. Okay. The federation is working closest with us, and we are going to help them because we think the federation is good in a country, but they must work with everybody. And in Spain, there is a lot of good coaches who are working hard, and the federation needs that coaches to be successful in the world. If you hit the last ball over there, they back out of there.
And how important is, in your opinion, the social education of the players?
Very important. I think that probably one of the hardest things that's going on, the most difficult things, is to keep the aggressive parent from allowing their child to become a pro so young. And I know that there's been many cases that that's happened.
The runner-up for the US Open PTR final is Christer Franke. Christer. Wonderful.
No, I didn't, because when I started to play full-time tennis, I was about 18, 19 years, and I was working very hard for 2-3 years, and we were not having a coach with enough knowledge to develop us. We were only training lots of weights and running a whole lot, and we're unbelievable fit, you know, much fitter than I am now. And if I had the chance to have a great coach or a person with a lot of knowledge, I would probably maybe on the tour now.
Yes, the ITF now has 191 member nations, which is quite a few. And well, one thing is that most of the good tennis players tend to come from about 20 of those countries. So we feel that it would help tennis if more countries were represented internationally in the game. So one area that we're working on certainly is trying to create opportunities for more countries' top players to maybe make a breakthrough into international tennis. The other area is, of course, educational. We work a great deal with tennis coaches, with national federations, to try to advise them on making programs which will hopefully make them more successful in the world of tennis.
For me, at least, I did have a very balanced life when I grew up. Even though I played tennis just about every day, it was very balanced. I concentrated on my schoolwork and I concentrated on some other sports. So I think that's very important that you don't play too much tennis from a very young age, but just a stable upbringing.
I've always believed that tennis players, you know, can mature late in their 20s if they're sensible about it, and it's a game for life. Don't burn yourself out and play too soon and where you play too much tennis over and over again, and by, as you say, retire in the mid-20s. I mean, that's ridiculous. You should be able to play tennis forever.
And does tennis help you to be, let's say, better personality for your life besides of tennis?
Well, I think what tennis does, I think you get to meet some tremendous people. I mean, you know, I travel all around the world. I've met people from every country, from every way of life.
Every time we see someone who is very strong, they've had great people in their life who have kind of helped them to learn the skills in thinking and acting that kind of bring out their greatness, that summon the strength inside, the strength of character to endure in battle.
Which means we should try to help the kids to be problem solvers again.
Exactly. That's one of the greatest gifts that a coach can give to a player, is to teach them how to become a great problem solver and how to deal with tough times on the court, and not to go to give up or to look for excuses, but to stay right in there and solve the problem, whatever it is, the wind, the bad line calls, the coldness, or whatever it is that they might be struggling with. Those are problems that have to be solved.
You know, you're never born to do what you do, I don't think. I mean, if you know what I had and what I feel about, you know, being a competitor and the way I go about things, I think that is born in me. But I think along the way that you learn a lot about what you choose to do and the right way to go about it for yourself. But I don't think champions are made. I don't think that. I think that's impossible. It's too fake. It's too much of a bluff. To do what it takes to be not only a champion on the court, but to live your life and to do what it takes to prepare yourself to play the tennis or the basketball or to write your articles or whatever. That you cannot instill that in somebody. You have to have that inside, but you have to find somebody that's good enough to bring that out of you. And to draw it out of you in a way that makes it successful for you and makes it right. You can pull it out all at once and it's gone. If you don't, you got to draw it out a little bit at a time so that, you know, when you need it, it's there.